Hi, ILCs. Welcome to the independent breakout session, Empower People by Having Better One-on-One Meetings. If you're watching this video, then you've located the links to the resources. At various points, you'll see this pink box with dotted lines down here in the right corner, and this indicates that there are resources linked to the agenda for this session, and you may want to push pause to review those. Before we get started, let's look at some data collected from a survey about meetings. Take a moment to review this slide. As you can see and have likely experienced, not all meetings are created equal. The purpose of this breakout session is to help you identify ways you can adjust and improve your current one-on-one meeting habits to ensure that these are a high leverage opportunity to support and develop the people you coach. If you have not done so already, press pause and click the link in the agenda to take the quiz from the Management Center called How Are Your Meetings? After you take the quiz and tally up the score, identify one strength and one growth area. Now that you've completed your quiz and self-reflection, let's jump in. Before we talk about one-on-one meetings with others, I want to talk about what I think is the most important meeting of your week, a meeting with yourself. ILCs spread their time and mental and emotional energy in so many directions. In order to do so effectively, it's essential that you take the time to organize and prepare to do so. That's exactly what a weekly self meeting is, a time to wrap up previous work and prepare for the week ahead. A weekly self-meeting follows a similar flow each week, and I find it to be most effective if you hold this at the end of the week, like a Friday afternoon, or at the beginning of the week, like a Monday morning. I also know some people who prefer to hold this outside of work hours, like on a Sunday morning at a coffee shop, and may include both personal and professional items to prepare for and accomplish during their self-meeting. This is a personal choice, and you want to make sure that regardless of when and where you hold your weekly self-meeting, it can be peaceful, focused, and uninterrupted. This is a sacred time to be your best self. During the looking backwards part of your self-meeting, you are following up on tasks from the week and rescheduling anything that you didn't get to. During the looking forward part, you're making sure you are prioritizing your time on what's most important to achieving your goals and drafting agendas and communication to prepare for the week ahead. Pause to review the sample self-meeting agenda linked in the agenda for this independent breakout. Now that you've completed your weekly self-meeting, let's jump into the cycle for one-on-one meetings, which includes specific features that occur before meetings, during meetings, and after meetings. Also note that at all points of this cycle, you're always supporting and coaching your people in many other ways, both proactively and reactively. The first phase is what you do before the meeting. And this includes preparing the agenda, sending a pre-meeting email, preparing evidence to support feedback that you'll share, preparing resources and learning experiences to support growth, and completing any open action steps that you have from the last meeting or check-in with this person. Make sure to take into consideration whether you will do this pre-meeting work during your weekly self-meeting, or if you need to schedule a different time to prepare for each of your one-on-ones at another point in your schedule. Let's look more closely at an effective meeting agenda. The agenda itself provides the framework to have a positive, productive meeting, but without intentional prep, the agenda alone will not set you up for an empowering meeting. Create an agenda that helps you accomplish the purpose and key elements of your meeting. Take a moment to review the details of this slide and pause to skim the 2 sample meeting agendas linked to the main agenda for this breakout. Now that you've prepared your meeting agenda, the next thing you'll do is send out a pre-meeting email. This gives the person you're meeting with an important heads up about what to expect and can go a long way in creating alignment and a sense of collaboration before the meeting even begins. If you have not previously been in the habit of sending pre-meeting emails and would like to start, I recommend giving your people a heads up so that they can anticipate this form of communication and understand if this is just an FYI or if you have expectations within the text of the email, such as action steps or things they should prepare. Take a moment to review the details of this slide and pause to skim the agenda, the sample meeting link to the agenda. The sample meeting reminder email, excuse me. Now let's jump ahead to the during the meeting part of the one-on-one meeting cycle. You've prepared well, communicated in advance, and are ready to dig into great planning and practice together. During this time, it's important to find the balance between pushing forward exactly as you planned and being responsive and receptive to the needs of the person sitting before you. Another thing to think about is if technology will be helpful or harmful during your meeting. Some people prefer a low-tech meeting, especially if you are still building trust. So consider if printing out the agenda and materials for you or the person you're meeting with and keeping computers to the side will be the best fit. Take a moment to review this slide. Now that you've completed an effective meeting that's supporting the growth of the person you coach, you've made big steps forward. Great work. But before celebrating this accomplishment, there are still a few key post-meeting items to complete the meeting cycle. Take a moment to review the details of this slide. The first step in the post-meeting cycle is a brief reflection. You can do this on your own or with the person you support. The purpose is to continue to adjust your meeting cycle and components to make sure that this one-on-one meeting is a highly effective way to support this person's growth. We don't want to have meetings just for the sake of having meetings. You may not be able to complete this reflection after every meeting, and that's completely fine, but I recommend blocking off time to do so at least once every couple weeks or once a month for each person you meet with, so you are constantly reassessing and adjusting to best meet your needs and the needs of this person. The final step of the post-meeting cycle is the follow-up email. This is an important way to lock in their learning for yourself and the person you support, to get crystal clear on next steps, and to reaffirm the relationship and the accomplishments you've achieved together. Go ahead and take a moment to review the sample meeting follow-up email linked to the agenda. A final thought that I want to share is that completing the self-meeting, as well as all three components of the meeting cycle, are an investment in your own growth as a coach, as well as the people you support. These may feel like time-consuming tasks initially, but will ultimately both save you time and increase the effectiveness of time spent meeting with others. Here are a few more tips on empowering people through meetings. When you are done reviewing these, hop back over to the agenda for directions on reflection and planning to complete this independent breakout. Thanks for learning about empowering people through better one-on-one meetings.